Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for joining me again this week. I'm very excited to see what the runes have in store for us for the week ahead. But before we get started on that, I did want to talk about the full moon in Leo, which happened yesterday for those of you who are watching today. For those of you who aren't watching today, it happened on February 16th. And the full moon in Leo has been really energizing for me. And I wanted to talk briefly on the axis between Leo and Aquarius, being that the moon in Leo is in opposition to the sun in Aquarius, right? So they have that full moon lunar axis going on, the axis of fixed masculinity, which I find to be quite engaging because you have the one side of the masculine principle that is very open, creates space, opens its mind, observes the various psychological and intellectual properties of the universe around it, just wants to be present, to observe, to bear witness. And then you have the Leo energy, which is deeply fiery, deeply passionate, wanting to open a space. Instead of holding space, they want to open a space, create a space, be like in the space, like fill it up with their fire, their light, their beauty, their grace, their elegance, right? And so of course we all have the electric principle within us in the same way that we all have the magnetic principle within us. So for many of us, we may feel energized. I know I feel very energized. I woke up this morning and I was like, wow, I feel like I just want to vibrate out of my bones. Which is really good. So I hope that you guys are using that energy effectively, are using it to stir up the muddy waters, stir up the ground in a way. It's almost like it feels to me, you know, to make changes, make mistakes, get messy, as Miss Frizzle once said all those many moons ago, for those of you who watched the Magic School Bus. But I really am enjoying the energy that's available for us this week, especially with the residual energies of the full moon as it transitions into its waning phase. And then we also have Venus and Mars are together in Capricorn, which is really nice because it's creating a very grounded energy. So one of the most beautiful questions that could be asked of us this time around is, how do we create better balance with our masculine and feminine principles? How do we create better balance between our electric power and our magnetic power, right? Our ability to make space, be bold, get messy, and our ability to flirt, to draw towards us, to be seductive with life, right? And creating a balance between those two core elements. So I think that's pretty engaging, and especially from a Capricorn perspective with the influence of Saturn, right? There is a great emphasis on creating a structure around how we relate to ourselves. Perhaps we want to make something new, and so we have this desire to do it, and a part of that magnetism is to utilize our electric principle to then make that space, make it happen, right? So let's see what the runes have in store for us this week. I'm gonna leave it like that. Okay. What's the friend that... Okay, it was a blank room. I was like, who's the friend that fell over there? All right. So, interestingly enough, the song that came to my mind was Yggdrasil. I forgot who was the artist. I'll probably link it in the description box below for those of you who are interested in taking a listen. But the song is a chant, and it talks about the world tree known as Yggdrasil. and it speaks on its holy nature, the energy of the tree. But the concept that came to my mind while I was seeing that vision turning the runes, it was this feeling of all good things take time, right? You cannot force a tree to grow. You can't, once you place the seedling into the soil, you place it into the lap of the earth, right? And from there, the earth will nurture it. And then you must offer it water, must care for it, watch over it. But you can't force it to grow, right? It grows in its own time. But the good thing is that trees have mighty roots. They grow sometimes twice the length of their crown. So what you see, let's say if you look outside, like as I'm looking out right now, if you see your oak, your resident oak tree nearby, if you do live near oaks, you could imagine how wide their crowns are, and then imagine that their roots go twice as wide. And that's incredible. But it creates a very powerful, solid foundation for that tree. So whatever idea or whatever concept that you have going, it may be frustrating because there may be elements of not seeing it come to fruition as fast as you would like it to. Perhaps you are seeking partnership and it's not coming as quickly as you would like it to. Or perhaps you are engaged in a creative endeavor and that process has been long-suffering and has been a little bit difficult or frustrating, right? But the feeling that I'm getting is that it will pay off. All of this will pay off. And I find it interesting because there's a jumble of energy here in the middle, which we'll get to. And that energy for me, of course, it's closer to the present moment, seeing as it is closer to the center of the tree ring that I have here. So this is going to be for today into, I would say, Friday, right? But we have these two energies here. We have Tirwas, which is in Merkstaff or Blackstaff, like it says, it's been overcooked, right? Overcooked rune. And then we have Perthro, which is in the upright. And I find that so curious because they fell on top of each other, and it suggests Tirwas, upright, which looks something like this, right? Tirwas ultimately is the rune, a very masculine energy rune. It's the rune of the god Tyr, who's the god of war, of justice, of uprightness, right? This rune is a judicial rune. So for those of you in legal stuff, for those of you who are watching, there may be some setbacks in that regard, but don't worry, because the fates and your intuition and the deep feminine principle is guiding you. But this juxtaposition of the reversed masculine principle and the upright feminine principle suggests to me that perhaps there is a lot of intuition and a wealth of visions or feelings or emotions and such that are coming in, that are giving you ideas or giving you small little signs about how to overcome the various difficulties that you may be facing at this time, for those of you who are watching. And this Tirwas is suggesting that perhaps there is a fear in taking action on that intuition. Perhaps there is a small grain of doubt that prevents you from really taking that leap that you need to take. Or if I can offer an example, it would be something like, say you have an idea for a TikTok, or say you have an idea for a YouTube channel. I'm using my examples, right? Or you have an idea for a poem or an idea for a creative process, right? And this idea comes to you and you feel it intuitively, and you have like, it's almost as if you hear its whisper on the wind, right? Almost as if you can feel the swaying of the tree, and if you just listen closely you can hear the words that are coming. But there's a grain of doubt, there's a grain of salt, there is a feeling of, can I really trust this? Can I really trust this intuition? And my feeling is that yes, you can trust this intuition. Whatever this intuition is guiding you towards, ultimately, it will take you someplace that you need to go, right? Because what's being prevented, and here's this kind of like, here's this like jumble that's happening here. We have Urus in Merkstaff as well. We have Ansus that fell reverse as well, as did Manas. So many of us may be overthinking things. For those of you who are watching, we may be overthinking things. There may be a feeling of physical tiredness, right? Orus is connected to the physical body. So there may be some physical frustration, physical tiredness, physical desire to rest or desire to retreat for a moment. But this may be caused by overthinking, overanalyzing, nitpicking the process, or nitpicking the intuitions that you are gathering from the inside of your soul, right? And so it's almost as if all of this energy is bottlenecking into this small space, right? And the more we don't allow these spaces for our creativity, or for the words that we may need to share, because that's what I just heard. Perhaps there's words that need to be shared, or feelings that need to be written down, or experiences that need to be processed, right? Perhaps some of us are overworking and are having a difficult time finding a balance between our playfulness and our work life. Both are necessary. So this feminine energy principle, this perthro, is calling us to tap into that intuition, to tap into that feminine energy, and then utilize whatever it is that we're gathering, this desire perhaps to be playful, to be flirtatious, to create, to speak, to write down our words, or to process whatever emotions that need to be processed with the energies of the full moon, and finding that balance between our masculine and feminine principle, right? Perhaps our masculine is overworked. Perhaps we're doing too much and it's time to rest. Or perhaps we're doing so much in one area of our life without allowing for the other areas of our life to flourish as well. And the reason why I say that is because Manas in reverse is the rune of man, or the rune of mankind, right? So it's about help. It's about our higher self. It's about connecting to our inner consciousness, right? And when I see it in reverse, especially alongside Ansus in reverse, it speaks of, as I said before, overthinking, overanalyzing, mental chatter that creates no space for the intuition to speak, right? And then we have Thurisas. The Thurisas fell on its side. So again, there's a lot of this for the next couple of days, balancing the masculine and the feminine principle, balancing our magnetism and our electricity, balancing our spaces where we rest, spaces where we do, spaces where we bring towards us, and spaces where we give out, right? And then create a little bit more of a balanced relationship with ourselves. We have intuitions, act on them, but act on them as you see fit. Act on them in a way that is beneficial to you, right? Act in a way that I also hear that challenges you, because sometimes a part of an imbalance between the two energies, between both sides of ourselves, or I should say the fluctuations of our energetic principles, right? Rather than two sides. If there is an imbalance in that fluctuation, oftentimes it can be seen in either side of the spectrum, right? It can be perceived as perhaps doing too much, or perhaps doing too much in specific areas and not allowing. Hi everyone, sorry I had to change the camera because it's only set for like 15 minutes. So I had to like turn it on again. But yes, as I was saying, it makes sense that sometimes these fluctuations in our energy, right, can manifest in different ways. And so it's difficult to say like that one thing is, you know, an unbalanced masculine and one thing is an unbalanced feminine, because they are constantly blending together. They are one energy, right? It's just two opposite poles of the same spectrum, right? A part of the same reality. So it feels to me that there is, though, a lot of blessings to come in the weekend into next week, because we do have Gebo here. And Gebo's energy is about equivalent exchange. It is about finding balance. It is the rune of gift giving, right? And so that feeling to me is connected to a balance between our masculine and our feminine energies, finding a more calm ocean, right? Waves that are easy, that touch the shore softly. It's less of a jumbled energy. It's less of a trying to find an equilibrium, but it's more of settling into it, right? And so I see this energy, since it's further out into the tree ring, further out into the week ahead. So over the weekend into next week, we're going to find deeper balance with ourselves. We're going to find many small gifts, actually, especially if we engage with our intuition. Let's say you have an intuitive feeling to go someplace that you never went to before, or to try a restaurant that you never had tried before, or perhaps you have a feeling to jump into a creative project or pick up an instrument or do something like this, right? Whatever it is that your intuition may be calling you to do, like we had discussed earlier, it's going to pay off over the weekend. And of course, it's not going to be the huge payoff that will come soon. But like the tree from the song that I had mentioned earlier, Yggdrasil, right? Like the world tree, how it needs to grow its roots twice as long before it can open up into the sky, right? Starting this journey, feeling those roots grip into the soil is going to be satisfying in itself, right? And also what I hear is that there's going to be very specific gifts, like small surprises. It feels like there's small surprises over the weekend. So you may be surprised by a text message, or perhaps you may get an email that you never had expected to receive, or perhaps on your walk home you decide to take a different road and you end up stumbling upon a new shop that ends up being your favorite shop. Something like this, right? And so it feels to me that there is a nice hopefulness for the energy of next week, especially after this very, it feels, you know, the image that I get when I look at this jumble of energy here, it's kind of like finding your rhythm in a very sultry flamenco class. Like, I just had this image of, you know, you dancing flamenco with someone, and it's a very intense dance, a very intense process of dancing generally, or even tango, something like this, right, where it's a partnered dance. And so there's that flow between the energies of the electric and feminine principles, right? So running with that metaphor, it feels to me that this jumble of energy is kind of like finding your footing in that tango with yourself, and then it pays off over the weekend into next week because you find the rhythm. You find the rhythm, and then the dance becomes less chaotic and more sultry, less frustrating and more sensual, less aggressive and more alluring. It's the word that came to mind. So I hope that you enjoyed the rune reading for today. I feel like that is what they had to say for this week ahead. I hope it has served you well. I hope this message has found you in good tidings, and I hope that it leaves you in even greater blessings. And of course, if you liked the video, if you liked it, like and subscribe to the channel, do the whole thing, it really does help. And I do enjoy the support. I appreciate it greatly. And I would love to hear your comments too about what kind of gifts you guys find over the weekend. If you do find any, I think that would be really lovely. And yeah, if you like, sign up for my newsletter called Solace. It's a monthly almanac that gives you an overview of the energies that we are dealing with for the month ahead. And so the next installment will come in on March 1st, and that's going to be fun. I'm working on that for the next 2 weeks, which I'm excited about. And so yeah, I'll see you guys next week here on the channel. I'm excited, and I'll see you soon. Bye everyone.